What was the problem you were facing with your current software stack?
I call it SaaS Purgatory, man. I think we're just exhausted. We have 26 franchise locations, 31 territories. We had one location that I know is stacking 11 different softwares. Before, we would literally sketch by hand. Now we can scan it and immediately start doing moisture points, putting our equipment, air movers, dehumidifiers. There's 360 photo tours. Amazing technology, taking a 360 photo and then using AI to stitch that together to create a tour. So as CEO, now I can build something way faster than talking to all these different teams of people. It's like, it's all within my reach. It's amazing.
Hi, I'm Todd, and I spent the last decade building software for the trades. I'm talking HVAC, plumbing, electrical, landscaping, and every home service business in between. For my entire career, building software for the trades meant waiting for Silicon Valley to notice you. But that wait is over. Founders on the trades are building their own tools now, and they're doing it better than any outsider could. This show is where I spotlight them. Welcome to Blue Collar Builders. Let's get into it. All right, well, Justin, I appreciate you joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Todd. Excited.
Yeah, so for some context, Justin is the CEO and founder at True North, a restoration company. Super excited to chat. Why don't we start? Can you give some background on True North, what it is, the size, how it came to be, just to provide some context before we go into kind of some of the AI and software you've built?
Yeah. We have 26 franchise locations, 31 territories. We started off in 2015, just me and my wife in a carpet cleaning van, cleaning carpets. So after a couple of years, we started in Denver. We blew it up into a great restoration company, added a few branches, and that's when we looked at the franchising model, especially when we went across state lines.
So just so everyone knows, how did you go from carpet cleaning to restoration? Because that's a bit of a jump, I think, right?
Yeah, we got within like 2 months of starting carpet cleaning. There was a giant rainstorm in Denver, and we had a bunch of carpet cleaning customers who just called and said, I've got 6 inches of water in my basement. I know you got a machine that sucks water. Can you come suck out stuff? So we didn't have a clue what we were doing. In fact, the first job I did, we sucked out a foot of water, which is actually kind of rare. Water just doesn't sit in a basement super long. It usually disperses. I didn't know what to charge them, so I charged like $450. Come to find out, the adjuster came back and was like, "This is like a $14,000 job. What are you doing?" So big learning curve, but the restoration space seemed like a way better place than carpet cleaning. It took us a good year and a half, 2 years to really switch the entire business model, but ended up being a great decision.
So you're a restoration franchise business now. Were you a franchise before? Like, how did, I want to get into the software, but I want to, like, how did you make that decision to go franchise? Because that's a totally different model, I assume, than the carpet cleaning model, or maybe you were in the franchise space already.
No, we were not in the franchise space. Me and my wife just started it from nothing. We started in we borrowed a friend's car and put a portable carpet cleaning unit in there. After a few months, we made just enough money that we could buy a van and buy a big truck mounted machine. Again, we did that for a couple of years while we were making money. The industry, the marketplace really changed us from a carpet cleaning to a restoration company. Again, franchising never even crossed our mind at this point. So we switched the business model completely from carpet to restoration. That's when we started growing, and we opened up 4 locations. We had Fort Collins, then we opened up Colorado Springs, and then we opened up Dallas. And when we went across state lines, our balance sheet expanded significantly, doing insurance in different states and taxes. It ended up getting way more complicated than we thought, especially going across state lines. And that's when we started looking at other business concepts like franchising. We had a buddy who had been in franchising a little bit and was like, "Hey, have you guys thought about this?" So we also had some other carpet cleaning companies that we knew of, independent carpet cleaning companies that wanted to switch into restoration. So they were coming to us asking questions, and we talked to them. We're like, "Hey, this could be a great thing. We could bring on 6 new independent carpet cleaners, help transition to restoration and franchise at the same time." So we ended up doing that in 2020 and 2021.
Got it. So they were like your first franchisees of the new business?
Yeah, October 2021, we finished our FDD, our franchise disclosure documents, which took us way longer than we ever thought, almost a year building that out. But once we finished that, we signed our first one in October. By December, a couple months later, we'd signed all 6 of those original carpet cleaning conversions. And they're some of our best locations. We're just excited about having them on board.
And you're at 25 now. How many locations were you at like a year ago, and how many locations do you think you'll be at in a year? Just like trying to understand the growth.
Good question. Growing, that first 2025 is usually the hardest. And so we're adding roughly 5 a year or so over a 4 or 5 year period. but we feel like we can really get some traction now. We're hoping to get to 60 to 80 in the next 12 months. Really want to be over 100 in the next 18 months or so. The more locations we have on a map, the more we can land national accounts. We kind of, all ships rise with the tide. So we love growth. If you're not growing, you're kind of dying.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I think that's kind of a good transition. So when you have this kind of new business model and you have multiple locations and different ways of doing business, but also the same way of doing business with franchises, I assume software gets complicated and you need something really unique. So before we go into what you built, like, I assume you were using a lot of different softwares to kind of mash this together and work for you. Let's not, we have to name the softwares, but just talk to me what that was like. Like, were you just using like 5 or 6 different softwares? And like, what wasn't working for you? Was it just that they were all disparate systems, or like, what was the problem you were facing with your current software stack, essentially?
Boy, I know this is a quick video, so I can't go too in depth, but I call it SaaS Purgatory, man. I think we're just exhausted from, you said 5 or 6, man. I think it's more like 8 to 11. We had one location that I know is stacking 11 different softwares.
Wow.
And the exhaustion of that, but there's a lot of things that don't stack well on that. But the main thing that we're really underestimating as we're building out our own software is owning our own data. So how much of our data, our CRM data is siloed, our project management data is siloed, even our field documentation is siloed from our project management software, our finances are siloed, our estimating software. I'm not kidding, these are all different. There's even, on top of all of that, there's a field documentation camera software for the field documentation software, and you're just like, oh, it's just way too much. It's exhausting, but having all that data separated and poor APIs. So this company versus this company, they didn't build their API for those two in particular. They kind of built it for APIs for a lot of different things. So you never quite have a beautiful, seamless system. Yeah. And it's just segregated. It's really tough.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's tough. And so like what took you over the edge? Because I think I talked to a lot of people who have the same feeling. Too many softwares. It doesn't really work for me. It's not malleable. I have to fit my business around the software, but it doesn't do what I want it to do. Like, I hear that all the time, but I think it's, well, then how do you take action? So like, what put you over the edge to be like, I can do this? Because you have no coding experience. You have no software engineering background. So what made you be like, I can do this? And then what was the aha moment once you started doing it, being like, oh my God, like, this is the future of our business?
Yeah, I mean, one, just trying it once and you say, hey, type out some project management software, and a few minutes later, something magical is there. Now, I started a year ago, I think on Opus, Claude Opus 3.0 maybe, I can't remember exactly, and it was so broken. I mean, there was nothing, you couldn't vibe code a year ago. You could, just small stuff, and it always break and stuff. I remember last April 2025 trying to get a QuickBooks integration with it, and it was impossible. So I literally hired a software guy to look at it, and he's like, I can't figure this out. I was like, I almost killed the whole idea in April, but I saw how fast the LLM models were moving. So here's kind of the secret. I've had a lot of people tell me, man, you're the CEO. You're wasting your time. You should go hire a software company to do it. But I'm also looking at Claude Code, Replat, these different places. I'm building stuff. I'm like, I think we're onto something. I realized it takes 3 kind of people to build a software: a coder, which AI is doing; a designer, which AI is doing pretty well. That lagged a little bit, but just more recently, some really amazing design stuff. And then your product specialist, your product manager, and a CEO is a really good person for
domain
that
expert,
role,
right? Someone that knows all of the deep details on how you want it to work.
So over the last 5 years, before AI was even a thing, I've known all my pain points. I've been like sick. I've known what we've needed, and it's very difficult to know what you need and no way to get there. Yeah. But as CEO, now I can build something way faster than talking to all these different teams of people. It's like, it's all within my reach. It's amazing.
Yeah, I hear that story a ton of, and listen, that's why I think we built Dalton Mills, is business owners that have the domain expertise, and over the last decade or however long it's been, had to go to the software company and say, hey, I need this feature. And they say, hey, put in a ticket, or talk to my product manager, or sorry, that's not in our roadmap, or hey, why don't you think about doing it this way instead? And it's like, well, I don't want to do it this way. Like, I run the business. This is how I want to do it. I think forever you were beholden to software. And now with AI, like, you can now go build the software yourself, right? And build the workflows yourself and build all the kind of AI yourself, which is just like incredibly empowering, but also you end up having bespoke custom software that is the best for you. And all that matters is it works really well for you. You don't have to work in the software. And then it sounds like, so you built the software, you're using it kind of internally. Before we do a quick demo of it, What was it like? There's one thing to get your team to use software. It's really hard to get your team to use any software. But they were currently using one of these off-the-shelf softwares, or 8 or 10 of these off-the-shelf softwares. And then you're saying, hey guys, I built this thing. Now everyone's going to switch to this other software. Like, what was that like? One, and then two, like, how are you planning to get people to switch? Because using any software is hard. They're using it all the time. It's, they know the screens, they know the interfaces. Like, what is the plan to move people over and get them committed to it? And then, how did you kind of talk to them about it? I'm curious, kind of across all the franchises.
Yeah, kind of two paths on that. When I was starting this over a year ago, almost everyone was against it. They doubted it. It was I think not only a CEO, but an entrepreneur knows how to have people doubt and say no and still keep going. So, but I got one or two people in particular on my team really started to kind of see it. I had to show them, like, really spend some time with them, like, this is the future of what we're doing. And when they bought in, it was just kind of a waterfall effect. So that was a battle in itself. And I still to this day have people who don't really know what I'm doing very well saying, man, is this the best use of the CEO's time? I'm like, absolutely. Getting all of our data under one roof with software that's like a quarter of the price. Absolutely, it is worth my time. Yeah. But it's just a hard thing to convince people. The other one is I'm a free market capitalist. So I do not like twisting anyone's arm saying, here's our software, now you have to use it. Now, it's important in the franchising space that we're all on the same software. I'm giving it a long period of time. But the reality is, if you've got a better product, it's better, faster, we own all of our data, and by the way, it's cheaper. And we're taking everyone in restoration is tired of using 8 different softwares. And again, I say 8 to 11. It's even like we have the Twilio integration, the QuickBooks integration. It truly is 8 to 11 softwares now combined into one, including your marketing hub. Google APIs directly into our software, not through some other third-party marketing thing. All of these things are just, like I said, I'm a free market capitalist. How can you not want this? Would you want to pay me half the price you're paying now for everything being in one? And so it's a pretty no-brainer. Everyone's starting to see it, and once it's being used more, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's the software that you built specifically for your business. There's just nothing as custom as all of the nuanced edge cases. So I'm sure there's a few edge cases you really wanted to build. Do you mind sharing your screen and showing us, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the things that you're like, this edge case couldn't be built in the previous software. Like, this one feature is really what I wanted, and now look at how you built it. I'd love to see.
Yeah, so we've got, I could probably give you a bunch of examples, but the best example, one of the things I really disliked on software companies is when they would sell us something by usage that they don't even own proprietary themselves and is free to use. A great example is Apple LiDAR scanning. If you have an Apple Pro, you've got this little LiDAR scanner on the back, and they would charge per every time you scan, $8 to scan a room or something. That's Apple's technology. It's free. You can go use it 10,000 times and Apple's not going to charge you a penny. And so figuring that out and having this technology that now it's on our iOS app that everyone can scan a room, and immediately within split seconds, we get back our LiDAR scan of the rooms. Before we would literally sketch by hand, or we'd open another software and sketch on an iPad by hand. Now we can scan it and immediately start doing moisture points, putting our equipment, air movers, dehumidifiers, doing moisture points of readings, all of this stuff, all internally. This is field documentation software compared to what I was just showing, our project Kanban board. It's project management software. It's pretty rare to have those in one software. There's a couple out there that have tried, but we have it as one software. It's like, whatever we create our project, we go right into the project, we go to our field visits, and we create all of our moisture points. So that's a really good example of this costs absolutely nothing to use extra, so we're just cheaper, and it's all seamless. The project and the field documentation all go together.
It totally makes sense. Is there anything else on here that you think is like what is your favorite feature on here? Your number one thing that you're like, man, this seems so small to maybe me. Maybe it's tabs. Maybe it's the way I think you talked about something about going back and forth between projects or something, like these small tweaks that I think a lot of these software companies don't realize. Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so these tabs up here are so nice. Before, like if we're having a morning meeting and we're talking to all of our customer or our technicians, who's going out where, you don't want to hone in on 40 projects on your Kanban board. You want to hone in on 3, 4, 5 of them. You can literally just open them up and have the tabs right in here that you go back and forth for that day's work of who's doing what. So it's so nice, so convenient. But you did ask what is my favorite feature. Those are so fun, adding little things like that. Maybe something you've seen in another software that you're like, let's add that. That's really cool. One of my favorite features, though, to be honest, is the 360 photo tours. Again, I love taking things that shouldn't cost money, and in the SaaS world, where they're charging us by project or by tour or something, there's 360 photo tours. Amazing technology. Taking a 360 photo should be free, and then using AI to stitch that together to create a tour. So we now, True North, internally, we don't have to go to another company. You can go through and just do all these 360 photos in a house. It takes me about 5 minutes to get my 5 to 8 photos on a floor. So if I'm doing this one in particular is a 3-story house, about 15 to 20 photos. This took about 15 minutes to do. Once it's done uploading, I push AI button. It builds all the hotspots to go in between each hotspot to go around. It's just incredible. And again, this is free. For our franchisees, you're not paying us $25 for every tour you make. No, it's technology and knowledge and code base should all basically be free. Let that, like vibe coding AI, let it work for us rather than just charging nickel and diming our franchises for every feature. So that's probably one of my favorites.
On the software side, we kind of looked at it always as open source. Like there's technology you can borrow that's open and you can just use. And listen, I see it already. Like I totally understand where you're coming from. Like these things have been wrapped up and software companies charge for these all the time. But now that you kind of know the secret sauce, you can build it and adapt it for yourself. It's super cool. Before we kind of head out here, what is one piece of advice? I talked to blue collar, all different types of blue collar businesses and different trades, and I think they look at this and they say, "Oh, well, Justin's different. I could never do that, or I shouldn't do that." Like, what is a piece of advice for the plumber or the electrician or the landscaper that has the domain expertise and the knowledge, but thinks that they can't do this?
Yeah. Historically, basically thousands of years, knowledge has been very costly. The highest paid careers in our industry, in our world, have all been knowledge based. How much time you spent in college, 4 years versus 12 years, whether it's doctors, lawyers, things like that. With AI, it levels the playing field. Knowledge is basically free, and all knowledge, some of the PhD level knowledge, is now free. So I think it's easy for someone like myself or someone else on your podcast to be like, I vibe coded this in my basement, in my pajamas, anyone can do it. There is a gap between being able to have some MVP model that kind of goes out and you can look at it versus, we're 26 locations. We can't build something of garbage. So there was, again, this was not 2 months of building it. It was a year of learning some of the back end, the front end. We started with vanilla JavaScript and then we switched to React. I didn't know what either of those meant. With the vanilla, I'm thinking like a latte or something. So there was definitely a learning curve. I know a lot of people get on like Claude Code or Replat and they build something and they're like, try this out. They send a local host like URL and no one can try it out. So there's a lot of different things you have to learn. It's worth it though. It's where the world is heading. So if it takes you a couple months of learning what the back end is versus the front end, what vanilla JavaScript versus React is, we went with a Firebase, with Google rather than AWS or something. There's a few things you just really got to sit down. May not be fun to learn, but I enjoyed it. So Google Cloud Platform versus AWS or Azure.
AI about it, right? It's like ask AI.
Yeah.
That's the right. It's like you're going and researching for hours and hours and hours about Wick. You just ask AI, hey, explain to me the differences, and in 5 minutes you understand the differences.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about software. 10, 15 years ago, I did a little HTML, but basically nothing. But like I said, knowledge is free. Leverage that to your advantage. Everything you don't know can be done now.
Yeah, no, it's totally right. It's what took a year ago. Now, if you were to rebuild it, probably would take you 3 months because the models are so much better. And 3 months from now, it might take 1 month or a week or an hour or whatever that looks like.
And that's a really good. I think why sometimes CEOs tend to have a little more vision than on like the operations side or something. I remember I started this April 2025. It was September, I want to say 13th, because my baby was born on September 15th in the hospital. Opus 3.5 came out, and I could see these jumps every few months, a better LLM. So I knew in September that we weren't quite there. Like, this is for what I'm trying to build, we're not going to be there. But I knew over the next 3 to 6 months, the LLM models were going to only get better and better. I remember a lot of people, I think it was February of this year when Opus 4.5 came out. It was a big aha moment for a lot of people. They were like,
Yep.
okay, this is not that broken. You really can put all the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, I think if you tried AI 6 months ago or a year ago, it's worth trying it again now because it's a different world from where we're at. It's like saying the internet and then you tried dial-up and then never tried it again. And now you're like, oh, this thing isn't dial-up anymore. Like, it's actually useful. It's kind of a good analogy between the two.
Yeah, that's a great analogy there.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. What you built is super interesting, and I hope we can do a follow-up after you start getting your team fully ramped up on this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate the time.
Have a good one.